Hello and welcome to Community Conversations. I'm your host, KK Konishiro. The Fremont Unified School District recently joined forces to report on local elections. Working together as Fremont Student Journalist Coalition, these reporters provided comprehensive coverage of all races as well as profiles of the candidates running for office in Fremont. We're happy to have the representatives from each school here with us today to talk about their coalition. And I would like to welcome our students journalists here, and I want you guys to introduce yourselves. We're going to start with Amir. Remember, tell me what high school you're with and what grade level you're at.
Sure. Hi, I'm Amir Ortiz. I'm a junior at American.
American. Okay. Alina?
I'm Alina. I'm a junior at Mission San Jose High School.
Okay. Ashley?
Hi, I'm Ashley Tosh. I'm a senior at Washington High School.
Jeffrey?
Hi, I'm Jeffrey. I'm a senior at Irvington High School.
Great. Did I forget anybody?
Jack. My name is Jack Connor. I'm a junior at Kennedy.
Kennedy, great. Well, welcome. So let's start by telling everyone, all our viewers, where the idea was for your school newspapers to come together to coverage the local election. Who thought of this? And how did you start?
I kind of came up with this idea back in September with my school newspaper, the Irvington Voice. What was happening was, we were getting all these mail pamphlets for all these candidates, but, our parents were all like, what are these candidates? Like, what policies do they stand for? And I kind of realized that there isn't much local journalism happening in Fremont. It's really up to us, the student journalists, to really cover a lot of the local news because the most we have is Tri-City Voice. And so I came up with this idea to kind of, cover all of these candidates. And from then I started contacting all of the other student newspapers in Fremont to kind of get them on board so that we could get started on this project to cover the local elections. Because local elections are important, especially with so much of the politics happening right now in Fremont. So there's a lot of changes happening. It's super important that people are informed.
So was it hard for you to get a hold of the other students from the other high schools? Were they open to this? Did they question you? I mean, how was that?
Yeah, so I contacted everyone through, we have Facebook and Instagram where all of our schools have kind of newspaper pages. So I contacted them through there. I believe, Ashley, I think you were the first to respond, and you were right on board from the moment we started talking.
Definitely. I remember I was checking Washington's newspaper account. It's called The Hatchet. So I was checking the Instagram DMs and I saw the message from Jeffrey and I was so excited as soon as I read it. I was like, I didn't even ask my advisor. I was like, oh yes, we're in. And then I brought it up to him later and he was like, yeah, we should do that. But yeah, I was so excited. It was a great idea.
So Amir, what did you think?
Well, actually, my editors were the one who, the editors for the newspaper were the one who probably first saw it. I'm a staff writer at the Eagle Era over at American, so I didn't hear about it until they brought it up with the staff, and this was a project bigger than anything we've done. Well, I've done since I was at the Eagle Era at American, so I was very excited to get working on it.
Nice. Alina?
Yeah, I heard about it from my EICs as well. They were just like, do you want to work on this coverage about local elections? And I was like, I'm really interested in politics and local elections, and it seems really interesting. So I was just like immediately on board.
Okay. What did you think, Jack?
Well, Jeffrey kind of just reached out to me via text. One of my friends gave me him my contact information, and as soon as I heard about it, I was just like, that sounds like a great idea because I thought it would be really useful, especially for first-time voters and stuff.
Yeah, excellent. So Jeffrey, when you got this group together and everyone was on board, did you guys have weekly meetings, monthly meetings? Did you divvy up who's going to cover what race, or how did you work that out?
So we started out with a few meetings just to kind of go over things and, like you said, divide the articles up. Since Fremont has moved to district-based elections, we could divide up the work pretty easily. And so we ended up having each school just cover the races in their area. But from then, after the first 2 weeks, we kind of left it up to the schools to work autonomously. Since we all have our own school newspapers, we all have our own processes for editing. We kind of just left it up to the schools to work by themselves to get the articles done. And then in the final week, we decided to come back together, put everything together on this final website that you can find at thefsjc.org. But I would say for the most part, we left it to the schools to work by themselves. We didn't want to strip any of that existing structure away. And I think that what's really cool is that by doing so, we've basically created a system where we could keep on doing this in the future, because it's not so reliant on the people right here to set up this collaboration. It's really such a decentralized thing where, you know, we could come up with an idea and do it and not have to have so many meetings.
Excellent. Now, did you guys find the candidates open to you, cooperative? Were they willing to talk to you? Did they brush you aside? How was that?
Well, for Washington, at least, we were covering the mayoral election, and we were in charge of covering 4 of the candidates. And then I think the other 2 were divvied up among American and maybe one other school. But we actually only heard back from one of the candidates we reached out to, and that was Justin Shaw. But the other 3 we reached out to like 2 or 3 times, and we didn't hear back from them. So we had to rely on like their own websites, their like YouTube, like debate videos, the seminars that they had. Stuff like that. But I believe American did hear back from Louis May, and she refused your guys' interview, right?
Really?
Yeah, we definitely had a mixed bag with the candidates that we were contacting. Some of them did reply like pretty quickly when we talked to our district council member, and we messaged or we emailed one of the candidates for the school board. They contacted us back pretty quickly, and they were very understanding and cooperative and trying to get things set up. For mayor, we contacted Lily May, and I contacted several, or an email that she had on her Facebook page, and her Facebook, 2 of her Facebook profiles didn't receive a message back immediately. So I tried other methods. We did get a message back eventually, and she said that she was busy. She wouldn't have time for an interview, and she messaged me towards or led me towards a speech she was giving in a few days to say this is you can see my policy views here. So at least we got a message back from Mayor May. But there were a few candidates, 2 I think, who we couldn't even get a message back as well. You know, we tried all the contact information. They didn't even have websites, so that made it a little bit interesting to, you know, made you think about what their candidacy was about if they didn't have a website to, you know, put forward their views. One of the candidates, we even contacted somebody who had a yard sign of that candidate in front of their house, and they didn't even know any contact information about this candidate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, definitely an interesting experience all around.
How about you, Alina?
Yeah, for Mission, we were assigned 4 candidates. I think all 4 of them actually responded pretty quickly.
Nice.
And for us, it went really smoothly. It was 3 school board candidates from District 5, and then Raj Salwan, who is the city council member, I believe. So for us, it went like pretty smoothly. We didn't run into that many roadblocks for us.
Nice. Jack?
For Kennedy, it was like some candidates like responded really well. Like I was able to get a phone interview with my candidate, and one of my the other writers, he was able to get a Zoom meeting with his after like a lot of work. But 2 of the other candidates, just one of them responded via email, the other one just didn't respond at all. And that was kind of difficult to like find out information about them when they weren't really putting themselves out there.
Okay. So Jeffrey, was this what you expected to have happened? Or did you expect the candidates to be, you know, very open?
I expected this to probably happen. One of the things that we discuss in the Irvington Voice within our own newsroom is that student journalists don't really, like, they're not really seen as actual journalists in the city. It's really tough for us to really get access to some of the information. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I decided to get all of the other newspapers on board, because the idea was if we had all the newspapers as a single entity, the candidates might respond to us quicker than if we were just one single newspaper. And so with that, we did end up getting more responses than I thought quickly. But I did expect some responses to just not happen at all.
Okay. So with what you have gone through, all of you, did this experience, covering the elections, was it enticing for you, encouraging for you guys to keep up with your journalistic learning, or is it something that has swayed you the opposite end? Do you have the bug? Anyone who wants to start?
Go ahead, Jack.
Okay. I think it was really interesting to actually interview people, because at my newspaper we don't do interviews all too much, and it's kind of like made it so that we're thinking of doing more interviews because it's a lot more entertaining and interesting than just reading articles.
Right. Ashley?
I was going to say that it was definitely a really cool experience because, if you're covering, like, say, your student body, like government election within your school, and say, like, you have a misprint in your paper, you make a mistake, it's not a huge deal and it can be fixed. But this was a much more real experience because it was all of the high schools. It was a real, local election. It was on the web, on the internet for everyone to see. So we had to make sure that we were doing everything right. And that was scary, but at the same time, it was really fun and it made me want to do it more.
Nice. How about you, Amir?
Yeah, definitely. It was a very interesting experience, even with the people who we couldn't contact. It was fun to try to contact them, to be quite honest. It was like a treasure hunt or something. You're trying to pick up, find all the clues and put them together. And these are people who, have a pretty big impact on our life. And to be honest, at the beginning of this, I wasn't even quite sure who my district council member was. So it really put into view to me but after all these interviews, it put into view to me how important it is to really be aware of these people, and that, they have influence over us and we should be more informed.
Alina, what did you think?
Yeah, I also had no idea who our district candidates were before working on this coverage. So I think that myself and other students around us could we really needed a source for local election information. And at the Smoke Signal, I think we do a lot of in-depth coverages, but this coverage in particular, I think I found especially real because we had such a big group of people. It was such a large coverage. I think there were 20 something candidates. And there were so many people working on the story, and it was super cool to work on it.
Nice. Jeffrey, is this something that has encouraged you to go and continue your journalistic endeavor? Or is it something that you go, I'm done?
No, definitely I'm going to still continue doing journalism. I think what it's made me realize, especially with what I'm doing in the Irvington Voice, is that we should be doing more of these larger projects because they're way more interesting to do than just covering a school event. Now, those are still articles we have to do, but I think that for me, for the rest of the year, these are the types of projects that I want to be taking on. I want to be doing more of these coverage, just coverage that matters and can actually impact people's lives. Yeah. And just to inform people on information that, it's hard to access. That is the purpose of the press, is to report on matters that, might be hard to find otherwise. And so I'm going to continue doing journalism. I think it's made me realize that I might become a journalist, in the future. And that's definitely, super exciting for things to come.
So I have to ask you this one last question. What did your fellow students think of your work? Were they appreciative that they actually learned what was going on? Were in shock that they were, learning what was going on? What was their reaction when you guys were sharing your information? Go ahead, Jeffrey. Or Jack, you want to start?
I was just gonna start. Yeah. So a lot of seniors at my school, they're like first-time voters, and it was really good for them to like
Yes.
be able to learn more about the voters, because before they were just like, it's just a name on a sheet. They don't know anything about the person, their policies. So it was really helpful to them, and I think that's definitely a plus of this.
Good. Jeffrey, what did you think? What did your fellow students tell you?
Yeah, kind of along the lines of what Jack was talking about. Some of the seniors and even some of the alumni that were stuck at home, they were voting for the presidency, but they weren't really like they were kind of ignoring the down ballot candidates, the city candidates. And so our coverage kind of helped them, help them realize that local elections are important. One, and two, there are a lot of candidates.
Yes.
Typically, we don't have as many candidates, but because we switched to district-based elections, there are so many more candidates, and some of them don't really understand like what the issues really are in their area. So I think with what we've done, we've kind of helped everyone understand what the local issues are, but also kind of the diverse nature of all the candidates we have in Fremont.
Great. Amir, what did you think? What did your fellow students tell you?
I mean, basically the same stuff. It's mostly the seniors who are getting to vote for the first time, being kind of confused with these names that they don't recognize down the ballot, and I think they found it pretty helpful that they were all right there on one web page to look at.
Nice. Ashley?
One thing I wanted to bring up was we actually did a survey before we started interviewing candidates to ask the community, teachers, parents, FUSD students, what policies were important to them, so we could ask the candidates about that. And I believe we got like 700 responses. I don't know. We got a lot of responses, and it was really overwhelming, like the amount of feedback we got, because we've done surveys at Washington like that and we'll get like 50 responses, but so it was really cool to like engage with the community like that.
Yeah.
And so that was my favorite part, to know that people were actually like listening to what we were doing.
Awesome. Alina?
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think it's super cool to see how many people are actually like viewing the website. Like I know that a lot of students around here, like we can't vote, but I know that a lot of them don't really pay that much attention to local elections, and just seeing this information out there, I think when they'll be going to vote in the future, they'll just be more on the lookout for this information so that they can just be more educated when they vote, especially for local elections, since everybody has access to national and state news. It's just a bit harder to find like this local coverage.
Yeah.
But not only for students, like Jeffrey mentioned earlier, with like alumni, I think my brother also used the website to just like figure out who to vote for. So it's like also our parents and our family members. These students are just showing their parents who can vote and just like saying, oh, look at this candidate with these policies that I really like. So you should go vote for them. Yeah. So it's just these kinds of things that I really felt like it impacted the community.
Great. Well, I am so proud of your guys' work. You guys did an amazing job. I hope you continue with the coalition, because the more you guys do it, the more of a powerhouse our students will become, all right? But thank you. I wish I could talk to you guys more, but we got to end the show. But thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate your time. And from everyone here at Community Conversations, we appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.